All right, let's dive right in because today we are tackling one of the biggest mysteries out there, the human mind. You know what I'm talking about, right? Those logical, step-by-step thoughts you have all day, and then those absolutely bizarre, off-the-wall dreams at night. Have you ever stopped to wonder, where do they actually come from? Like, what is the real starting point for a thought inside your head?
Well, for decades, science had a pretty straightforward answer. It all starts here, in the sensory cortices. You know, the parts of your brain that process what you see, hear, and feel. It kind of makes sense, right? Stuff happens in the world, you experience it, and that kicks off a thought.
But it turns out that's only half the story. Not even. The latest thinking shows that our mind actually has two totally different starting blocks, two completely separate launch pads for our thoughts. And which one it uses? Well, that all comes down to one very simple thing.
Yep, that's it. That one thing changes everything. It determines the entire blueprint your brain follows. See, waking thoughts and dreams don't just feel different. They are literally built from the ground up in completely opposite ways. Okay, so let's dig into that first major difference. We're talking about the initiation, the starting point. It's not just that thoughts and dreams begin in different brain regions. They are anchored to fundamentally different kinds of memory.
And here it is, the core distinction. When you're awake, your thoughts are anchored in facts. But when you're dreaming, they're anchored in pure feeling. It's like a head versus heart split right at the very beginning of a thought even forming.
So think about it. When you're awake, your brain is all about fact first. A thought like, oh man, where are my keys? It starts with objective data. What keys are, what they do, maybe where you last saw them. Sure, emotion can jump in, like the panic when you realize you're late, but the facts are totally in the driver's seat.
Okay, now flip that completely on its head for dreaming. A dream doesn't start with a fact. It starts with a feeling, a jolt of fear, a wave of desire, a spark of joy. It fires from deep inside your emotional centers. And that emotional pulse is what then grabs all these random, fragmented images and memories to build a story around itself. The feeling comes first, the story is just trying to catch up.
Okay, so we've got different anchors, facts versus feelings. But what are the actual building blocks? What are thoughts and dreams made of? Well, the answer is kind of fascinating. They're made from the mental leftovers of your day.
Now, the scientific term is residual strain packages, which sounds super technical. But really, you can just think of them as, well, mental leftovers. They're these little energy traces of everything you thought, saw, and felt during the day. By the time you go to bed, your cortex is just littered with them, like scraps on a workshop floor ready to be used for something.
And your brain uses these leftovers in two completely different styles. When you're awake, your brain is like a meticulous engineer, carefully picking out just the right pieces to build a logical, stable thought. But when you're dreaming, it's more like a chaotic, abstract artist, just grabbing handfuls of these leftovers and splashing them onto a canvas to create something, well, surreal. All right, so we've got our anchors, facts and feelings. We've got our raw materials, the leftovers. So what's the actual machinery? What turns all this stuff into a thought or a dream? Turns out it comes down to two key players, waves and flows.
First, you have what are called strain carrier waves. The best way to think of these is like the stage in a theater. They're these big, pulsing waves that provide the basic rhythm and timing for everything. They don't have any content themselves. They're not the story. They are just the structure that holds the story.
And then, performing on that stage, you have the neural strain flows. If the waves are the stage, these are the actors. They are the actual storylines. They're these streams of content, memories, ideas, images, flowing across your brain like little jet streams of thought.
So yeah, it's that simple. The waves provide the stage, the flows provide the storyline. You absolutely need both to have a thought, to have a dream, for the mental show to even happen.
Okay, this is where it all comes together. We've got the anchors, we've got the materials, we've got the machinery, and when you put all of that into one model, we can finally answer that age-old question. Why on earth do our dreams disappear the second we wake up? The answer comes down to one single powerful idea: maturity. Not our maturity, but the maturity of the thought itself. See, a thought or a dream isn't just on or off. It exists on a whole spectrum of maturity. And that maturity level dictates how strong it is, how conscious you are of it, and, crucially, whether it gets saved to memory. So what makes a thought mature? Well, it seems to come down to three things. How often does it pop up? That's its frequency. How long does it stick around? That's its duration. And how much other stuff does it connect with? That's its resonance. The higher it scores on all three, the more mature and conscious it gets.
And here it is. This is the big aha moment. Our waking thoughts, they are highly mature.
They're stable, they last a while, they connect to a lot of other ideas. But dreams, they are the complete opposite. They are incredibly immature, they're fleeting, they're unstable. They're here 1 second and gone the next. And that massive gap in maturity is the entire reason they're so slippery.
So let's just run through why they're so forgettable. 1. Because they're so immature, dreams only create these super weak, fragile memory traces. 2. Those traces are all broken up and totally biased by whatever emotion started the dream. 3. Your logical prefrontal cortex is basically offline, so there's nothing there to say, hey, save this. And 4, the second your alarm goes off, the fire hose of real-world information, light, sound, the feeling of your pillow, just completely washes away those flimsy little dream traces. Poof, gone.
So when you step back and look at it, the mind isn't just one machine running one program. It's more like a brilliant architect that has 2 totally different blueprints for building our reality, and it just picks the one it needs based on a simple switch. Are we awake or are we asleep?
And this really sums it all up. Waking thought gets kicked off by facts, which leads to strong, stable memories. Dreaming gets kicked off by emotion, which leads to weak, fleeting memories. It really is like having 2 different operating systems, like iOS and Android, running on the exact same hardware of your brain. And the really important takeaway here is that it's not like one state is logical and the other is emotional. Both have facts and both have feelings. The real question is, who's in the driver's seat? When you're awake, facts are driving the car, and when you're dreaming, emotion grabs the wheel, and the facts are just passengers in the back seat wondering where the heck you're going. And that leaves us with one last kind of deep question to chew on. If your waking thoughts are built on a foundation of facts, but your dreams are built on the raw, unfiltered truth of your feelings, which one is actually telling you the truer story about yourself? The logical one or the emotional one? Not something to think about.